Hey, Spirit Club. Happy September. Happy Virgo season, Virgo new moon. There's a lot of good Virgo energy in the air that I hope everyone is using to their benefit. Today's topic is sort of coming from a previous podcast, something I felt into for this community, and I thought that it might be valuable for you, and that is believing in yourself. So I am traveling right now, so you have to forgive my background for those of you who are watching this on YouTube and my sound. But we're figuring it out. Okay, so we're going to talk about believing in yourself. Some people were just born believing in themselves. So my fiance, Shane, is one of them. He's been a serial entrepreneur since he was a little boy. Like, he has lots of stories of starting up businesses as a child. And I've often listened to him when he's talking about a new business idea or something he's moving forward on. And I just sit there in awe. I just look at him and I'm like, how do you just believe in yourself? Just like that, just so casually. Aren't thoughts like, who do I think I am? Am I good enough for this? Do I have enough education or experience? Don't those questions come into your mind? But no, they don't. He doesn't have that narrative. It's fascinating and it's also very expansive. All that being said, something tells me that this community wasn't born believing in themselves like Shane. So I'm going to hook you up today. Okay, so let's start with some signs that you don't actually believe in yourself. And you might be thinking, I don't need signs. I know I don't believe in myself. And for that reason, I almost omitted these. But I think not believing in yourself can sometimes manifest in sneaky ways. So I think we should discuss. So I've got 7 signs that you don't believe in yourself. Number 1, there is something that you want that you won't even go for, or you may not even admit to yourself that you want it. So this one's kind of the most obvious. If there's something that you want in life, but you aren't going for it, there are other possible blocks, but the most common one that I see is that you don't believe in yourself. Sort of plain and simple, this one. Okay, second sign that you might not believe in yourself is that there's something that you want and that you have been going for, like you're working towards it, and it just isn't happening. Now, sometimes it's just not happening because you don't believe in yourself. Okay, so you don't believe in yourself. We attract what it is that we believe. So if you don't believe in yourself, what you are going to be manifesting in this world will, like, if you're, let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to start this new business, but you don't actually believe in yourself, then the business is not going to go very well. It's only going to go so far as you believe in yourself. I hope that makes sense. And now let me be clear that the block here isn't always that you don't believe in yourself. It could be something else. It could be the universe showing you resistance because it's not the direction to keep going in. It could be showing you other blocks, but this is just one possible sign that you don't believe in yourself. Okay, third sign that you don't believe in yourself. You put a lot of weight on something like a degree or a title or a training. You put a lot of weight on something that I'm going to call superficial. So I have found that folks who don't inherently believe in themselves often collect a lot of training. And let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with getting a degree or a certificate or training, but it's important to ask yourself why it is you're going for that. Are you going for it because you love to learn, you want to gain the experience, the knowledge? Or are you going for it because you think it'll help you believe in yourself to start doing that as a profession or whatever it is? If it's for the latter reason, that you collect these trainings and degrees in order to bolster your confidence in yourself, I've got bad news for you. Those degrees, they're not really going to give that to you. If you don't inherently believe in yourself, something external isn't going to make you believe in yourself. Okay, number 4, fourth sign that you don't believe in yourself is that you are jealous of a lot of people. Do you feel jealous often? Personally, I kind of like jealousy. Jealousy I use as a cue that tells me a direction or something that I want. Um, but jealousy doesn't come up for me often because I am following my heart and going towards what I want. Um, but if you're feeling jealous often, every day, even, it can be showing you that you want things that you don't have and that you don't believe in yourself enough to go give yourself. Okay, so jealousy may be showing you that you want things that you don't have and that you don't believe in yourself enough to give yourself. I hope that's clear. Okay, fifth sign that you may not believe in yourself is that you tend to be overly prepared. So, are you that person that just like prepares so much for everything? Like, let's say you've got a presentation tomorrow and you've spent all week going over every single angle, every single possible question that could be asked. Now, I'm not knocking preparedness. Obviously, there's a healthy amount of being prepared, but this can be an indication that you are relying on what you can control to ensure your success rather than believing in yourself. Okay, sixth sign that you may not believe in yourself is that you require external validation or proof that you are good enough. So, listen, we all need some external validation. That's normal, especially if you're new at something. But a little bit of validation versus needing validation, living off validation, are different energies. If you need external proof that you are good enough, so maybe it's like you need your boss to tell you you did a great job after every presentation, every report, or you need likes and comments on Instagram or certain awards or accolades, chances are you need them because you don't actually believe in yourself. So you're seeking external proof to prove to you that you're good enough. Um, for example, when I was struggling to be a professional dancer, I needed this validation from my artistic director. I literally lived for it. Like I would go into every rehearsal and like I'd be side-eyeing, watching to see if the artistic director is like watching me or giving me any feedback at all. Like I was dancing for her, praying that she would give me some sort of feedback. And when she didn't, I would feel really shitty about myself. So that is a sign I did not believe in myself. Okay. And the last one, number 7, sign that you may not believe in yourself is, and this one's kind of related to the last one, it is that you collect information that confirms the fact that you are not enough. Okay. So you are like collecting proof that you're not enough. It's like you got this basket. So when you don't believe when you don't believe in yourself and someone gives you, let's say, critical feedback, even if they said a bunch of positive things, you will only hear the negative ones because they confirm that you can't believe in yourself, right? It's like proving yourself right. And you collect them like some prized collection that you're going to sell one day on eBay. Or I guess eBay's not really a thing anymore. Whatever it is now, Facebook Marketplace. And you may even revisit this negative feedback and tell people stories about it just to make it more valuable. Again, if I throw back to my dancer days, the negative shit that my dance instructors said to me was like prized to me. I would like retell everyone, like this little victim that I was. I collected that negative proof that I was not enough. Yikes. But anyway, this is a pretty good sign that you don't believe in yourself. Okay, so those are some signs. And, something tells me that most of you know whether or not you believe in yourself, but there may be some sneaky areas of your life that you don't believe in yourself that those signs can highlight. So now let's talk about why you don't believe in yourself. So it really all comes down to your programming. I talk a lot about programming in Spirit Club, but for those of you who are new to my community, let's go back to the basics. And I'm going to try to do a computer related analogy. Not that I know much about computers, but think of your programming like your software. It's like your operating system are your operating beliefs that you downloaded as a child. This is what the world taught you about life. The inputs that went into this software, this operating system that you run on, may have come from your parents, but could have also come from like older siblings, teachers, grandparents. And alongside these important caregivers, there was also messaging coming from society at large that shaped that operating system of yours, that programming of what you believe to be true about life, about the world. Okay? So why you don't believe in yourself is coming from your programming. You were programmed to not believe in yourself. So let's break it down into the different places that the programming may have come from, so that you could maybe pinpoint what it is for you. So it may have come from direct or indirect messaging from your parents, or we'll say like older caregivers that were influential to you. So that could be teachers, grandparents, whatever. So direct or indirect messaging. So, for example, I have a client whose father constantly discredited everything she said. That taught her, that was a direct messaging, basically, that she couldn't believe in herself. Okay, so you have direct or indirect messaging from your caregivers, but then you could also have, rather than direct or indirect messaging, you could have modeling from your parent or caregivers. So maybe your parents were saying all the time, like, you can be anything you want, believe in yourself, we believe in you. But then you were watching, let's say, your mother not believe in herself. You watched her talk about how little she believed in herself. You watched her act and behave as though she didn't believe in herself. Modeling is a very powerful way that we are programmed, that is often overlooked. Then you have ancestral programming. So it is what it sounds like, being passed down through the lines. And there is a lot of this, especially around not believing in yourself. So, for example, if you are a woman, there's a good chance that there's ancestral programming for you to not believe in yourself. Because it wasn't very long ago, guys, that women couldn't do things. We were told that we weren't smart enough, strong enough, competent enough, worthy enough. And although that narrative has shifted today, I assure you that that hundreds, if not thousands of years of this programming and this messaging that women are less than hasn't really cleared out of the collective consciousness. It has passed down through the lineage. And there are many other examples like that one, but I know there's a large community of women listening to this podcast, so this may be you. And then there's the programming that could be from your past life. Fun, I know, this feels like a lot, but bear with me. So if childhood and ancestral programming are not enough, there's a possibility that you have some past life wounds around not believing in yourself. A really classic one that you'll hear about a lot is the witch wound. So the witch wound comes from the days of witch hunting, where women who were considered witches were killed, burned alive. So you can imagine that it would create some trauma around you being in your power. So if you were a witch and like a witch, whatever, maybe you used some herbs, or maybe you had success in life and people just started calling you a witch. um, so if you were in your power, shining bright, or believing in yourself, you would be killed. You'd be called a witch and killed. So you can imagine you would have some trauma around that, and then that could be carried into this life, and quite likely for you to work through, clear out. So I know all those types of programming might make you feel a bit defeated or disheartened, and that's not my intention. Just because you have a program running doesn't mean you can't reprogram, right? I mean, I don't know anything about computers, but we're going to say that you can do that. You can get a new operating system. So it's time for new software, friends, and it doesn't have to be hard. And the more of us clearing this shit out, the less there is for next generations to come. Okay, so we've talked about signs that you don't believe in yourself and why you don't believe in yourself. And before we get into some tips and tricks and how to heal some of this programming, I want to just focus in on self-doubt. So, self-doubt is one of the ways that not believing in yourself manifests. And we are not trying to get to a place where we never doubt ourselves. Okay. There's a certain amount of self doubt that is needed to keep us honest, to keep us in integrity, to keep us humble and open. So the goal here isn't to eliminate self doubt entirely, but rather to develop a strategy around it, to work with it, rather than allow it to consume you and stop you. Um, so I'm going to walk you through right now a strategy to start to work with self-doubt. So I want you to think back to a time when you had a lot of doubt coming in and walk that scenario through this strategy. I'm going to use an example to walk through the strategy just to help make things clear. So let's use the example of starting a business. So you start a business, you're about to launch your offering, product, whatever it is, and self-doubt starts to berate you, maybe even paralyze you. So here's what to do. Let's go. We got 4 steps. Step 1, you are going to give the self-doubt a name or a voice. So this will help you to separate it from you and your highest self and your vision. So for today's example, let's call the self-doubt that's coming in around starting a business, we'll call this self-doubt Annie. Okay? Okay, step 2. Annie, or the self-doubt, is going to be coming at you with statements, questions, fears, doubts. So I want you to start by setting aside any statements from Annie that are judgments about about you being bad or good. So this step is really about removing judgment or the morality from the conversation with self-doubt. So in the example of starting a business, let's say you're about to launch your offering, as self-doubt creeps in, Annie might be asking questions like, am I enough? Are my ideas any good? Will people judge me? Who do I think I am? See how all these have some sort of judgment about you in them? These we are going to set aside. This is your ego trying to keep you safe. So we're going to filter out those questions. Thanks, Annie. We're going to table those questions, okay? Step 3. Now you're going to work with self-doubt and Annie in a productive, objective way. It's like when your self-doubt comes in, you can use it as a system of checks and balances. So we've removed all the judgy questions about you. And in the case of, let's say you're launching your offering, you may be left with questions that are more objective and productive, like, does my website lead to a clear customer experience? Is my social media representing me, my brand? Is my product ready? So these sort of objective questions that you can use self-doubt productively with. And it isn't personal. It's just a cue to be honest with yourself about where things are. And then step 4, you're going to thank Annie for helping you to cross your T's and dot your I's. You can even visualize her. Often self doubt is our inner child, after we talked about that programming. Often self doubt is the inner child. So you can visualize her, him or her, give them a hug. Let them know that you see them, you see that they're afraid, and you just reassure them that it's okay and it's a part of this. So that's it. I know it doesn't sound like much, but I'm telling you, working with self doubt in a productive way rather than allowing it to consume you will really help you to walk towards an aligned life. I know for me, when I started doing intuitive readings, self doubt was coming in hot. It was coming in hot, and it was like making me want to just get out of there. And I had to develop a process around it because it will continue to come up, especially if you're walking this aligned path. You're going to have to do some things sometimes that are scary, that require courage, and self doubt often likes to come in then. So having a process around it, now I know that process I just shared with you. Um, Now I can look at self doubt more objectively, and then I can just be like thankful. Oh, hi, I see you. Yes, pat you on the head. Thanks for coming. No, I will not be buying into these judgmental statements, stuff like that. So I hope that helps you. Okay. So while I wanted to highlight self doubt on its own, we still need to get to the root of believing in yourself. And given that the root lies in your programming, or what I often refer to as blocks, this is going to require some healing, and often some healing on a subconscious level. So I did receive a guided meditation from Spirit for You. And I'm not going to put it on today's podcast because we will be at time, but I will do it as a separate podcast drop, hopefully later this week. Don't quote me on that. Might be for next week's podcast drop. But just keep your eyes peeled for a healing that I'm going to put together just for you. Okay, but in the meantime, I will give you some tips and tricks to work on believing in yourself, or at least to not let it stop you from moving forward towards this aligned life. Okay, so I've got 4 tips that you can try. And again, I want to be clear. You need to address the root of not believing in yourself. You need to address the programming. You can't just paint over it with tips and tricks, but I want to help you. So I hope these will help. Okay, number 1, try to take the higher perspective of it's not about you. This is particularly helpful if what you're doing feels heart-led and aligned. If you're feeling called to do something, but not believing in yourself is getting in the way. Chances are, if you are doing something that is heart-led and that you're feeling called towards, you are ultimately serving others in some way. Maybe you're serving by acting as an example to your kids, to your friends, your community. Maybe you're serving by sharing your gifts with the world. Maybe you are directly serving and helping others. Whatever it is, reminding yourself that it's not about you is a good way to put your lack of belief in yourself aside because you have a higher vision. When I was struggling to believe in myself as an intuitive reader, this one helped me big time. Because ultimately, me doing a reading for someone has nothing to do with me. So making it about me was only messing up the channel. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, second tip that you can work with is redirect your time and energy into the internal work versus the external work. So let's give an example. Say you are applying for jobs nonstop and continually getting no's. And because you don't really believe in yourself, you are collecting those no's like a prized collection. It's like a nail in the coffin every time you get one. You're like, see, not good enough. See, not good enough. So, right now, you can see that by continuing to put energy into the external process of applying for jobs, you're actually perpetuating the block that you don't believe in yourself and can't believe in yourself. It's like, it's really not a productive thing to be doing with your energy. Those job applications, oh my gosh, they take time and energy, right? So take that time and energy and redirect it internally. Redirect it internally. And as you work on yourself, you can watch the external world shift. This is much more powerful than just continuing to put job applications out there, I promise you. And that's just one example, but it could be anything that you're working on that's just not happening. Take a pause in doing the external work on it and redirect that time and energy to do some internal work, and you'll have way more success, way more movement. Okay, third tip or trick to work on believing in yourself is to expand your energy. So think about someone who's doing the thing that you want to do, but that you don't believe in yourself enough to do it. Okay? Now try to work up to their energy. You likely won't be able to match their energy right away because the gap will be too big. But what's one thing you can do that helps you to start to embody their energy? So, for example, say I wanted to run a marathon, but self doubt and not believing in myself is keeping me from running more than 5K. So, I'm going to look at someone who is a runner and try to embody a piece of their energy. So, maybe I go get myself a really quality pair of shoes because that person who's a runner, they really care about their shoes. And shoes are important to their performance. And if I'm trying to embody that energy, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta act like it, you know? Or maybe I start telling people I'm a runner. Maybe I never tell people I'm a runner because, oh, I only run 5K. Well, if I'm trying to expand into the energy of a marathon runner, I have to act like a runner. I have to call myself a runner. So, as you expand more and more into your role model's energy, you'll be surprised by how far this takes you. Okay, and number 4, tip or trick to help you just keep moving along the path when not believing yourself is stopping you is exposure therapy. I'm not even sure if I'm using this term right, but what I mean by it is exposure therapy is something you can try to get yourself to move forward if self doubt is holding you back. So, say you want to be a musician, but the fear is paralyzing you. Expose yourself to a small step towards being a musician in order to quell the fears and the voice that's telling you that you can't believe in yourself. So, you might start by playing a song for someone close to you. And then once you've exposed yourself to that and you're like, okay, I can do that. I believe in myself enough to do that. Then take another small step. Maybe that next small step is you play your guitar for a small group of friends around a campfire. Okay, now you've exposed yourself to that. You didn't believe that you could quite do that, but you took that little step and then you saw you could do it. And now you're like, oh, now the next one, next and next and next until you get to where you're trying to go. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so there are some tips and tricks to get you moving forward despite the deeper block of not believing in yourself. But let's be clear, friends, if that belief is operating, there's only so far that tips and tricks can take you. Eventually, you have to pay the piper and clear the subconscious blocks. That's it for today, friends. And for those of you looking for the healing, stay tuned. I will drop one. It will be the next drop that I do. Thanks for tuning in.